Hi, everyone. I'm immigration lawyer John Kasravi. Thank you for joining us today for our regular live session where I'm at a different location in Los Angeles than I'm normally at. But I want to thank you for joining us. We're taking questions live all over the place, many different channels, including Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok. So shoot your stuff here, and we'll see what we can answer with general education only, not intended for individual legal guidance. It's always different. But post your questions, and we'll give some general stuff so you know in the process, and everyone else, excuse me, learns it as well. We always have a lot of questions trickling in over time. They accumulate by the end of half an hour. It's crazy. We're always live, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern, U.S. Immigration Live. To take your questions about U.S. immigration and help you down the path. We get a lot of questions about timelines. We have one here about how long a refugee travel document takes. It's all over the place. It could be 3 months, it could be 2 years. I'm very inconsistent with the timelines. And that's the theme that comes in a lot of our shows where people ask questions and we just don't know the answers. But the biggest thing that's popping up that we do know is the fee increases with USCIS happening April 1st. It's a bad April Fool's joke. Hey, Daryl, with the CM. And so be prepared for that. If you got a case, get it in now. Lawyers going to get overwhelmed, which we are already. So any new clients, we'll try our best to get it all done. We should be able to do it right now, early February. But it gets really busy. We don't know if you can get it in. It's a lot of fee increase. Not only are they increasing the basic fee for a green card, but also if you want to get a work permit or travel authorization, they're adding fees to that which didn't exist before, which is big different than. So let's see how it goes. Just more pressure on people with these prices going up. Hopefully the services go up the same, and people are able to help themselves actually finish up the process, which is taking a lot of time. Now there's a big hubbub about these bills that are introduced passed somewhat in the Congress, not done yet, about immigration reform that's tied to funding for foreign wars. At the end of the day, how this finally plays out, even whatever the law is going to be different than what it is today, and how they actually execute it will be different. Just because Congress tells the president to enforce a law some way doesn't mean they'll do it, and that's been the history of the republic. So I don't get worked up too much about these. For example, they had done a bill that became law for it to add premium processing, fast processing for USCIS cases, certain ones. And it took years and years to be implemented, even though I don't think it should take that long. But so many things you see, you don't really know what's going to actually happen. We have a question from Tate. Says, hey, John, could you explain about CBP, one app for passing border from Mexico? I'm not an expert. I don't handle cases where people that are essentially coming from the border and stuff. So I'm not a good expert on talking about what that process is, what the CBP1 program is. Our cases are primarily twofold. People who are in love and getting married or have fiancés or parents overseas, people they love and they bring them over, just, the regular legal process, which is regular but ain't regular. Every case is so different because of the complexities of it. But also people who have passions for certain things, music and arts and science and work and all this kind of stuff, and you're really good at it. There's different visas for that. So that's what we focus on. Queen says, after filing affidavit of support with the NBC, how long will the appointment be for the interview? Well, that depends on your case. So your parents, you say, are in Afghanistan, it could be a long time. Their interview will probably happen in Pakistan, and that could be 1 or 2 years on average. It's really backed up. And after their interview, it might take even longer. And it says, do you help with EB1? Yeah, we handle EB1 extraordinary ability cases. Just start email resume or CV to info@jqklaw.com, my firm. And then if it's really easy to see that you have a good case, we'll tell you. If not, maybe a consultation needed, free or paid. Depends on the facts, how much work it requires to get you started. It all really depends on that. Fred asks, Daryl asks, it's been over a year now. I-130 is still pending. Yeah, I mean, I-130s go over a year nowadays. So it's especially if you're married to a green card holder, but they take a while. Fred says, I have an interview very soon, but my current W-2 is in my previous address. Is this a red flag, please? They probably won't pay attention that much to it. You can explain that you forgot to update your address on W-2. It's not the biggest deal. You got to look at the whole picture. So if you have a lot of bad stuff in your case, other than that, yeah, it's bad. But if that's just one off, then it's not a big deal. Sana says asylum cases. I don't handle asylum cases, so I don't want to talk about those and work associated with it. Marcel says, what are the next steps after a fiancé visa case is approved? When they notify you for your interview? So the fiancé visa case hasn't been approved. It seems the petition has been approved. You got to work with the embassy to get an interview. It depends. Each embassy is differently, and how backed up they are, and how long it takes is different. Once that visa interview happens and the visa is approved, then you come to the United States, and then you apply for a green card, get married. But your visa as case isn't approved yet. You just have a petition approved, and It really depends on the embassy how long it's all going to take. Bahman asks, hi, John. Thanks again for being here and asking a question. You're welcome. Have you ever heard of a status file being in transition between USCIS and the National Visa Center? I talked to USCIS, and that's what they told me. Yeah, there is a process where USCIS sends stuff to the National Visa Center. There's a transition period. Recently, it's been almost non-existent how fast it was, but every day is different with them. But I'm not surprised by anything really at this point. Sorry, my throat's bad. Hello, what's your prediction for DACA? I don't give predictions. I'm not one of those attorneys who predict stuff. I just work with what needs to be done. John says, if I have permanent residency, can I bring my parents to the USA? No, you have to be a U.S. citizen to be able to bring your parents to the United States and apply for them. You can't do that as a green card holder. In the mix says, how does Adam Walsh Act work? Does sting operations still affect Adam Walsh Act? I mean, if you have those charges and convictions and stuff like that, I got to look at it. I haven't read the Adam Walsh Act for immigration purposes recently. But essentially, if there's some child, physical sexual abuse stuff, that could be really problematic and you have to get a waiver for it. It's hard to get. It can take years. But it depends on what exactly happened and what the charges are, all that kind of stuff. Sean says, if I'm eligible for citizenship this year, but I lost my green card, can I still apply for citizenship? I think they made it where you don't have to have an updated green card to file. I don't remember. I haven't had the case pop up for me, but the USCIS did issue some notice about whether it's been expired or lost and stuff like that. I need to look into that. You can go USCIS.gov and check it out too. Meme says, my USCIS wait is freaking 39.5 months. Is it even possible 2027? With USCIS, all things are possible. Queen Bump says, should we change the embassy location to Dubai? Dubai doesn't handle those kind of cases. Abu Dhabi, they're pretty backed up too. It's probably the same amount of time. Tiffany says, what if they process it Friday 1:30? That could happen. Okay, let's see. Caitlin asks, how soon can someone work after getting married to a U.S. citizen while documents are pending? They can legally allow to work whenever they get work authorization. They've had some before, you use that. If they get a new one, they can use that. You should have filed for work permit employment authorization with your case. But legally, you got to wait, and that's that until you get the work authorization. Lana says, how long to get approved for fiancé visa? It's been waiting since July. Well, the I-129 petition is taking between 5 to 18 months. That's just a petition. And then to get the visa approved, you got to get an interview and go to interview, all that kind of stuff. That takes more time, and that depends on the embassy that you're dealing with. Nabil says, my brother's done the DNA 6 months ago, and they're still case out embassy, not USCIS. So how to do it? Call them up, see what's going on, but they lag. Akusa says, how long you have to wait for work authorization after filing for adjustment of status? 3 to 10 months. It says, what's the process to bring my stepdaughter from Mexico? You got to go through the whole process. I mean, I-130 at consular processing, but you have to have been married with your stepdaughter's parent or mother. I'm guessing they say your father. You have to be married with the mother before the child was age of 16. If after, nothing you can do, your spouse would, if you're married, will need to do it through them or something like that. Do you assist DACA recipients with advanced qualifications? We do this. We do that regularly. So definitely hit us up, info@jqqlaw.com. We do DACA APS like a standard thing. We need no more information, facts to see what kind of case you have, but we get several of these approved a year. Abby says, if you're denied I-130 for not enough evidence to file a new case, initial case affect new, yeah, it's in the history. It could. Sohaib says, I applied for OPT for work authorization. It's already 50 days. Decision is still pending. Yeah, they suck. You can pay extra to get a faster decision. What about I-130 delay by I-765 denied? I don't know. I haven't seen your case to be able to advise that properly. Is there any way to become a citizen without a test? There's going to be some testing, but you have to be meet certain health and age requirements and stuff like that to be able to waive a lot of the tests. And Joe says, how long is adjustment status taking to a 21-year-old child? It depends on your case. It's different for every case. Healing says, what evidence do I provide for my kids to add on my petition if my citizen parent sponsors me divorce? Birth certificates, I'm not sure. That's too case specific. I'd have to sit and talk with you about that. Siri said, how long does it take to get an interview for their spouse? It depends on the embassy you're dealing with. All right, we got a bunch of YouTube questions. Let me catch up. EOP says, I have a question. I'm adjusting my status, and I submit my I-485, and all documents are good, but the birth certificate I have was old, and I have one single letter on my first problem name in the middle name is misspelled. After my date is first day backwards, I don't know. That's too case specific. I mean, we usually do when names are wrong and stuff like that. Depends on what kind of adjustment case it is, what it's based on, first of all. So that's a big thing. Then we get letters from family and friends. We get school records. We get baptismal records. We get all the records we can. Then we just give it a shot. So you don't want to file adjustment of status until you don't have your ducks in a row and your case is good, unless there's a deadline or something like that. Abe says, hello, John. My question is, they have 245I. The only proof they have of physical presence is the apartment contract and want pay stuff for January 23rd, 2001. Will that be enough evidence? I can't guide you what's enough evidence or not, and it's up to them what they think it is. It's good evidence. I think it's good, but I haven't read the evidence, first of all. So I've had people say, oh, I have the best evidence, and they bring a document, and it's like a cousin's name on it. What use is that for us? So I can't advise on that. But it's up to USCIS. That's it. FFHD says, I have a kid in Dubai. I'm a U.S. citizen, but my wife is not, and I lived until age of 15 in the U.S. We're moving to Dubai. The U.S. consul said I can't give my child U.S. citizenship. That's true. You can't, because unfortunately what you have to do is get a green card for the child, move and live with the child in the United States before they're a certain age. So you need to work on that fast. Alternatively, if your parents satisfy the 5-year presence requirement in the United States, the grandparents of the child, potentially you can do what's called N600K and take care of that. But FFHD, this is one of those case-specific stuff we got to get into. Tate says, thanks, John. My parents' IR5 application was stuck in NBC in Abu Dhabi for more than 2 years. Do you think switching interview and your wants help? You know, Tate, that's hard to say because Abu Dhabi is taking around 2 years. So if you move right now, you might go to the back of another line. So you probably aren't near the first. It's just one of those things that you got to give, gut decision what you want to do. Thomas Singh says, marriage interview completed, 120 days. Well, yeah, send a follow-up letter for taking that long for your interview. Say what's going on, you write in the proper way, all that. Why not? Travel with Meta says, hello, how to upgrade I-485 from F2A to IR1 after naturalization. AOS inside the U.S., I will very approve. Mail a letter to USCIS where the I-485 receipt address is and just notify them and follow up, because even if you notify them, they don't always put it in the file. Thomas Link follows up. Wife lost her sister recently overseas and want to go to Finland. Should we mention this? Help? I mean, that doesn't necessarily help to the case, but if you want to mention it, I can't tell you what to mention because then I'm advising you how to write a letter. Unless I'm writing a letter myself and I make sure I'm not saying things that are inconsistent with the application or come off wrong, I can't really tell you. But generally, we do follow up. We have for 30 days. We didn't bother 20 days in my firm. But, it's different for every case, and I can't really tell you how to write a letter over internet like this. I don't know enough about your case. Can you switch your VAWA case to marriage status adjustment? Maybe, but it depends on the facts, Kiki. That's a really big question. We got to see all these different factors. Abby says, you're freezing. Can you please repeat your response? I don't remember what the question was, Abby. Sorry. It says, I'm married to her mother, but I don't know the process at all. You guys schedule consultation. It says 20 years in age. I don't remember the question. Queen bump app. You can't go into the details of all that kind of stuff. Joe says, arrived on SB1 visa. Will have a problem naturalization. Maybe. I don't know your case. John says, I'm denied and they got green card through EB3. Now to 5 years, can be in trouble for M400. Yeah, if they incorrectly gave you a green card, that could be problematic. It says, I'm married to her mother, but I don't know how to process it all. That's why you get a lawyer. That's why you get a lawyer to help you with that. EL follows up. I sit in my I-485 status adjustment on birth certificate has minor errors. USCIS might not see it, right? I can't rely on what the government may or may not see and gamble with your life. So if I'm your lawyer, I can't gamble and say maybe not. We got to be sure about things because I have a responsibility to do things right, at least the right as possible. Lou says, I have a question. What happens if you vote in an election as a permanent resident by accident? Does good moral character only count past 5 years? If you vote in an election, there's a bigger issue of false claim to citizenship, which is a deportable offense and almost impossible to fix. So, Lou, hopefully your friend who did this, is okay. It's really going to be a mess. Okay. Milk says, hi. If someone visa denied under Section 242B, what does that mean? It means they're afraid they would come to the U.S. and not go back home. Abby says, initial I-130 is denied because of the evidence on refinance. We already answered that question. How long is it the end of work permit? It just varies. My internet's being slow here. I'm not even at home. That's where my internet usually is terrible. I'm somewhere else and everything is slow and freezing, but it is what it is. Okay. Any updates on what someone should do if their spouse is in Islamabad, documented qualified November 2023, transfer thanks CR1 case? Well, we're going to transfer it to the applicant has to be living somewhere outside of Pakistan with a work permit and authorized to be able to transfer it. So that's not happening. And then you got it since November 2023. That's only 4 months. It might come in sooner, but I got all these approvals in Pakistan and Mexico and stuff where things are backed up. The timelines have gotten a little better. It's on my to-do list to make videos on case-specific types at specific embassies that give you a perspective. But although it's just one perspective, there's always different cases. But I haven't got around to it. But Islamabad, unfortunately, is a mess. Maggie says, how does it take to get cleared from admin processing? There's no deadline for that. It just depends on whenever they get around to it. I said, I know you answered, but I didn't hear because they freeze. Can you please answer again? I lose track of the questions. We get so many. So I forget. Sorry. All right. So Lou says, I'm freaking out. I'm afraid they'll come after me. Lou, you shouldn't be posting about this publicly, frankly. Let's just leave it as that. I'm sorry. It's an unfortunate situation. He says, I have a VAWA case now. My lawyer to cancel it so I can get married and change my status. So I actually have a case where I'm going to interview where someone did that. They had a VAWA case about to be approved, but they didn't want to have a VAWA green card because they had been married to U.S. citizens, so they canceled it. They had the VAWA approved, they canceled the adjustment and redid it through marriage. There's a possibility they do that. We have a case right now exactly like that. It's for a guy from West Africa, so should be good. Lou says, what do you advise? I don't really have advice. Go talk to a lawyer in private, but I'm not sure if it's a solution, Lou. Moose says, how does it take to get work permit after receiving your prime facie recommendation letter? I don't know. VAWA is a thing called the Violence Against Women's Act, which is if you're married or with a green card holder or citizen, they're abusive or serious psychological harm, that kind of stuff, you still get a green card based on that. I don't handle the VAWA or Violence Against Women's Act case at our firm. It's not just women, men too, or parents of or children too. I think parents of U.S. citizens and maybe my children, I think, or something like that. I don't do them at my firm, so I don't like to talk about it too much. I have an lawyer always cause that does those. He knows the details of it. But that do it. Sunshine says, what area are you working at? I'm in California. I'm in Los Angeles. Right now I'm northern southern Los Angeles, at vacation. But I'm in Los Angeles. We handle cases from across the globe, really all over America. We have associates in places too. Okay. Let's go hunting for questions. We should have some here and there. Okay. FHD says, yeah, my parents, my kids, grandparents live for 20 years in the U.S. What's the process to get my kids citizenship? So FHD, we got to schedule a full consultation. It's a process called N600K if you're living abroad with your child. And you got to go through this whole thing. It's not the place to talk about it here because maybe if I have time right now and there's a gap in questions, I'll talk about it, but it's best to schedule a private consultation. We do those cases regularly. And if you actually type in N600K, JQK law, you'll see our videos come up when we talk about it and it comes up. Janet says, what are the questions for IR5 visa interview? Just know things about your life. That's it. And then don't lie, really. But I don't know your background, so I can't say exactly. Amit says, my sister has come to USA on visitor visa. She got married to USA citizens soon. How long does it take for her to get a work permit, social security number, allowed to work in the US? Well, Amit, I don't know if she applied for a work permit. So if she didn't apply for one, then she can't get it. And just by getting married doesn't mean anything. You got to file a case. It depends on what city you're in, what background, there's fraud issues. So before we get to where you're trying to get to, we got to get to a lot of other stuff that are more important to get this case approved. Yeah, says, thank you. I was afraid they might going to deny I-485 because of misspelling. I mean, it's possible, but that's that. And how long is green card approval after asylum granted? I don't know. It just varies. Milkmite says, after a 214B denial of tourist visa, is it possible to approve the future? It's not impossible. It just depends on the officer you get. SW says, getting green card adjusted through marriage, but I have a DUI by a minor when I was 20 will be okay. It's up to the discretion of the officer. Typically, it's okay. I've seen denials for it, but you have to prep for it. That's the kind of case you need to have a lawyer with you. A lawyer that won't just file the case, will talk with you and get information out of you to prepare a case to be able to answer and satisfy that. So let me give you an example. I just had an interview I went to in that for a guy who was keeping his green card. He was married. Wife was a little abusive and stuff, so they separated. But he was also keep his green card, and he thought it was easy. Luckily, he did come to us, so we prepped him really well because when you go to the interview kind of things, they grill you. You don't want a lot of pieces of information. Now, this gentleman had difficulties because his wife was a very difficult person, and he had a lot of bad memories. So I had to spend 2 sessions with him, bringing it all out to know the timelines, what happened in the relationship. And then at the interview, I'd do it again. Both times, do it by breaking down. He didn't like to go through it. But I said, you got to do it. I don't like hearing about this stuff either. Horrible things that have to happen to this couple. But we got the case approved. You have to approve notice 2 weeks after the interview. It's wonderful. It's like his game is, it's different for his personal life. It makes a big deal. But if he had just gone himself and wasn't prepped all the nuances of his life, able to answer, even like dates and stuff like that, you would think about it, he would have been denied. So you got to talk to lawyers is the end of it. So if you get DUI, you got to prep and stuff. Kiki says, how much is your consultation? I'm probably going to increase it, but my consultation fee is $325 for a 30-minute video consultation. Arthur says, for E1 visa, is it an obligation to have trade previously Canadian citizens? E1 visa requires, a primary trade with the United States, and we have to show that that's happening or will happen and stuff like that. It depends on the case and what you're selling. Mandy says, I-130 is approved in 40 days. I-45 is still pending. yeah, these things are, Mandy. I hear you. I'm not sure why it's like that. It takes so long. Alfred says, how long does it take USCIS to process a green card with an error on it? Actually, I just got one approved after 5 months for a case where they had the birth name wrong, but it could be 2 years. That's all over the place. FHC said, thanks. You're welcome, FHC. Thanks for joining the session. Let's go back to Instagram. Could you please advise me how to get H-1B visa from outside the United States? Yeah, you need to have an employer that's filing for you. You won the lottery. If approved, you file for it, and if approved, then you get an interview and you come. Who says, sorry for insisting, but do you know about the good moral character if it's true about 5 years? It is 5 years, but you go outside that. But false claim to citizenship by voting is not about the 5 years. That doesn't matter. There's no timeline for that. That's always bad. I'll be scheduling college. One of there's hope. I don't know if there is hope, Lou. I'm sorry, but it's not something I specialize in. There's some firms who might do it more. It's gonna be hard for you to find out who it is. But I've heard cases being approved, no, they're not supposed to. But I don't know if I'm gonna have a solution. So try contacting other firms on that issue. Sent my wife's adjustment status about 25 days ago. No receipt nor check. Is that normal? Yeah, 25 days. Sometimes they take that long, but probably it's abnormal. So I don't know what to tell you. Check your mailing. But I've had it where it takes that long, but usually don't. Okay, let's go back to YouTube and stuff. Eob says, lawyer said if they see the misspelling in birth certificate on I-485, they might ask for explanation. Then we can send a proof. Then we should be no need to worry, right? Is that right? I can't say no need to worry. I don't know. I don't know what you have. I don't know what that lawyer is seeing. And it's up to USCIS. I have a case right now where they approved this one guy's case while we had a bunch of documents that they were waiting on. So they're like waiting these documents, we're sending it to them, and then we get approval notice in the mail for the green card. Now we got to spend like probably 2 hours trying to get the USCIS to understand that they made a mistake by issuing this green card, accept our documents, then reissue a new green card. So these are the kind of things like, it's like, no worry, right? It's like, well, it's all over the place. So it depends on how good your lawyer is, frankly, because that's about it, I can tell you. Yeah, I don't know who your lawyer is. Okay, let's see. And also, I mean, more importantly, it depends on what kind of documents you have. Can a green card holder buy a gun after getting it through marriage? A green card holder can own a gun. ASA says, follow state regulations. ASA says, would first state CBT college be a good idea to keep working as a nurse? I want 40 filed, but not green card. I'm hesitant to use first state CPT because there's so much fraud involved with it. But if it's an appropriate program, then that's that. That's all I can say here. That we said, have my VAWA interview June 30th. Officer 1 week, still nothing. No, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for these delays. Ami says, my cousin's daughter, age 6, was born in the U.S. Her school is in India. She wants to come to USA for her study. Is there any way she can bring her parents to give her support? Potentially, parents to get 1 year, like tourist visas and stay for 1 year at a time with extensions. But it's going to be up to the government if they want to do that or not. And they have to show they have enough individual finances, and a lot of luck goes into play. Paranoid humanoid, not paranoid android, which I used to always say. Does USCIS ever take responsibility for the errors? No, they usually just act like nothing happened. But partially it's like they have so much work to do, or just like let it go. But it creates problems when these errors happen because, like, if my client didn't have a lawyer and they got the green card approved, even though it's incorrectly approved, they just would be like, okay, I got the green card, who cares? The government, they made a mistake, it's their mistake. And we have this. And then later on, they file for like U.S. citizenship and look in the file and see the medical check is missing and be like, oh, you shouldn't have got your green card, you're done. Now, this case was through marriage. Imagine by the time of citizenship, they're divorced now, and they take away the green card. There's no new way to get the green card now. So it's come to disaster, this kind of thing. So people, when they file on their own, don't think about it, about all these repercussions that are 4 or 5, 10 years down the line. So when someone has a consultation session with me, people always want to answer how much the price, how much the process. You know, we could get the case done and we could work on a price and all that. But you got to have someone who's thinking, yeah, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, when you want to bring your spouse, your parents, your brothers, sisters, you want to start a company, who's the employer going to be? Should I leave a job soon? There's a lot of strategy and long-term planning has to happen so you don't mess things up for your citizenship or bring family members later, but not, for example, listing them in previous applications, all this kind of stuff. So there's more to this craft and trade and whatever it is that we have here in this filling out forms. Majority of what I do to add value to the case that you can't do on your own is having years and years of exposure, decade plus experience in this, and obsessed with immigration law, teaching it and have courses, all this kind of stuff, not just for regular people, but for lawyers, to kind of point out these little things that can be really problematic, that can mess up your life. And that's my goal in what I do. How could I, one is make the service so fun and interesting to the front, beginning to end, to make you really happy to have known me and to work with our company and just be be like, wow, what a 6-7-star experience that we just had. And then the other aspect is like watching out for you in the long term, things you wouldn't even think about. It's like if you're building a house, the plumber might do some stuff where it doesn't make a difference now. It might be a little more expensive right now. But 20, 25 years from now, it's going to save you like $100,000 because they did their job well. They welded it well. They used the right pipe or whatever it is. And that's what the kind of service you're paying for. Shabar says, good night to you, sir. I'm living in Caribbean, Barbados, and I would like to know, I'm married U.S. citizen. My author is approved. 6 months gone. I have yet to hear anything. Barbados isn't that backed up. I'm not sure why they're scheduling an interview. Make sure you didn't, the receipt notice doesn't say you have to file a form IA-24. Then you're going to have problems and delays. Okay, so Instagram, let's see. Lou says, thank you for being up front. Do you have recommendations? Someone specialized there? Not many people specialize in that. I just randomly hear some lawyers will fight some third things, but I'm not optimistic, though. Sorry, Lou. N400 application used to be approved in 2 or 3 months. What happened? It is right now this year. We're getting citizenship cases. Usually during election years, they go fast. So we have a lot of cases being done in 2 or 3 months right now, but it's all over the place. Why is it so hard to come visit the U.S.? Because they don't want people to come and stay. And a lot of people do. So they deny most people, or not most, they deny a large chunk of the people, maybe most, from coming, maybe 51%. How long is Cairo interview after we receive DQ 5130? It's probably a while. I haven't dealt with Cairo on a marriage case in a year, but they're pretty backed up and slow then. See, just getting a tourist visa interview is hard for like a child U.S. citizen stuff. We have to battle them out for citizenship cases recently a lot. So those are kind of backed up. So the case is coming about to end. So if you have any quick questions and stuff, let me know. Juan Campos, good to see you, brother. Amanda says, hello, U.S. citizen married to Chile in 9 years. Any advice on what you do for the fastest process? Schedule a private consultation. We can talk about it then. There's some stuff we need to talk about. Spencer says, what do I need to submit for my N400? Check out the form. You got to fill out the form, your marriage certificate, green card. It depends on if you owe back taxes. Depends on how old you are in the military, signing up for military U.S. And it's just a lot going on. It's too broad of a question. Can you resent me from Cali to Texas? Yes, we have Texas cases all the time. Almost all the cases that we handle is done by mail, so it doesn't make a difference. We communicate by email, phone, and video, Zoom, and we communicate with the government by mail. It takes care of everything. Wonderful practice area is federal. User 55 says, what do I do if the MC deny my expedites? It's really urgent. Doctor, let them know. Keep trying. Keep trying different ways. That's all I can say. Last question. Flamery says, my brother overstayed, about to marry a citizen. Will he need to return to Jamaica or can he stay? Flamery, the good news is if he entered lawfully, which is probably different from Jamaica, I doubt he swam over, and he entered with the airplane, tourist visa, got married U.S. citizen. If he doesn't have other problems like misrepresentation, fraud, criminal history, all that kind of stuff, then the U.S. citizen marriage should solve the fact of the overstay. We do this case every month. This is our bread and butter kind of case. People here are student visa overstays, not bread and butter overstay, but they're student visa holders, they're tourist visa holders. They get married, we take care of it. Lillian says, hey, John, what is the next step after I-130 is approved, married U.S. citizen, living abroad? If you're living abroad, you probably should have had direct filing. You can have affidavit support domicile potentially, Lily. I just got this case approved in Mexico, actually. But check out our guide, marriageimmigrationlaw.com. They're a free guide. They're better yet schedule consultations so we can get to know your individual case. But if you want the guide, it's at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. It's a free PDF guide, 40-plus pages of stuff. Usually I plug it a lot during the feed here, but I just got busy answering questions. Thank you so much for everyone who joined. We'll be back again next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I love taking your questions. Today was a really good session. Very few questions about how long things take, which I love, and more questions about substantive stuff, which is fun. If you want to contact me, email me at info@jqqlaw.com. Again, that's info@jqqlaw.com. And briefly, put what the situation is. If you have a couple questions on Instagram, on YouTube, I want to answer. Is it possible for you to be on an LPR forever and stay in the U.S. definitely? Yes, you don't have to do that. From Jamaica, I have an interview this month. Congrats, Daniel. We have another couple of cases coming to Jamaica. It's gone faster again at Jamaica. Thankfully, it was really slow. New York has, how can I contact you? Email me at info@jqqlaw.com. Winner says, why is it hard to get an oath letter when you request a legal name change under pass? Legal name changes at NATS aren't happening in a lot of places, so but they should have done it. It has to be done by a judge, so doing that's harder. They don't have judges or it takes a while to get it, so it causes delays. And he says, thank you, sir. What paper should be read if a U.S. has asked for explanation? If they notice, I don't know, that doesn't, you need that requires legal lawyering. I can't answer that here. Ellen says, I love to sit and listen. Thank you, Evelyn, for joining. Of course, it's the end of the show, but we have all this recorded on YouTube. Go check it out. There are live recordings for the last, since the pandemic. So when was that? 25 years ago, 4 years, whatever it is. Hundreds of these, I guess, at this point, are there. So check it out, our live shows. And with that, everyone, God bless, be safe, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.